Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Pennington, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about why I feel like it's very important that we have armed security guards in our public school system. Now first, what are your thoughts on having armed guards at school? Are you for it? Are you against it? Does it make more of a violent situation having a gun there or having armed guards there? Should our children just be sitting prey for whoever wants to come and harm them just because there's a little sign saying don't bring your gun on campus? Or would you prefer maybe having a retired military member, maybe even a security officer there to protect our children? I know when I retire from the military, I'd be more than happy to apply for an armed guard position at our high school. First off, I'd like to give you one of my own experiences with having armed guards in the school. You probably think it's going to be something violent or anything like that, but it wasn't at all. And that's the whole, the main idea of this is there wasn't any violence. So when I was in school, we had 2 armed guards that, roamed the hallways, drove around the perimeter of the school, and basically took care of us and watched over us to make sure nothing bad happened, or if something bad did happen, they'd be able to respond immediately. Throughout my years in high school, we never had one violent incident the entire time I was in school. And I went to a school that had about 1,500 students. So that should tell you something, that just having the presence there of, an armed security officer just has it in the back of someone's mind that, hey, they have armed guards here, so why would I try to go take advantage of this school? And that's, one of my points I was trying to make here is if you have that presence of the armed guards there, it's more of a deterrent. And through my own experience from my high school, we never had any violent altercations, and the security officers did their job effectively, and didn't intimidate any of us. My second point I'd like to make are some of the positives to having armed guards on our public school property or private school property, whichever. First off, it keeps our children safe. That's the number one thing, is it keeps them safe. Some people say it attracts violence, but it does the exact opposite. It does not attract violence, and I told you that in my own personal experience in my high school back in Arkansas, that it deters violence. It doesn't promote violence, it deters it. And one of the main pros to having a armed guard on your public school site is the response time. In Harold, Texas, they had an incident where it took over 20 minutes for the local police department to react to the violence that was going on. That's 20 minutes. So basically, the police department showed up by the time the violent acts were finished. So they were basically there to clean up the incident instead of prevent the incident. The delayed response time of the police department, the superintendent of the school in Harold, Texas, David Thweet, decided that he was going to implement having armed security guards there for the sole purpose of cutting down on that response time. So that was his biggest reason to getting armed guards, was the response time alone. Because like I said earlier, basically the police department will be there in time to clean up whatever happened versus getting there to stop the situation. And that's one of the biggest reasons why an armed guard is a great idea, just on response time alone. So now that I gave you some of the positives or the pros of having armed guards at school, let's talk about some of the leaders of our country. So many of our leaders today are very anti-gun. Not all of them, but a lot of them are very anti-gun. But yet, all the schools that most of our leaders children go to, have some type of armed guard or multiple armed guards at their schools. So for them, to not want our kids to have the same, same treatment basically, is really not fair. It's not fair that the leaders of our country can have their children protected with armed guards, and they're saying that we can't, or not that we can't, that they do not support that when their own kids are heavily guarded by multiple armed security officers. So basically what I'm saying is if it's good enough for their kids, why can't it be good enough for our children? Our children are the future of this nation, not just theirs. And please don't think I'm trying to put any of our leaders down, because they have it right. They've got armed security people at their children's schools. A little bit of my own experience of having armed guards in my own high school way back in the day. I talked to you about some of the pros, and also how the leaders of our country are so heavily guarded, but yet they are against guns. Not all of them, but most of them. So overall, guns keep us safe from the bad guys. That's what they do. Our kids deserve that comfort level of knowing that a good guy with a gun is going to protect them from a bad guy with a gun. So with that being said, that's the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun, is a good guy with a gun. I want to thank you all for your attention, and have a great day.